Hello, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the invitation to be here today and to tell you a little bit about what New Entry has been doing with food safety training. I'll start by just saying that New Entry Sustainable Farming Project is a program of Tufts University and the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy. And what our FSOP programs have been, actually we've had two, have really been to integrate food safety across all of the different programs. And so one of the things I'll do is tell you a little bit about New Entry. Some of our objectives across both of these rounds of FSOP funding have included things such as experiential learning and training opportunities. And this is one way that we approach food safety, is to integrate it into things that we're doing anyways through our farmer training programs. New Entry has been around for about 20 years, training new and beginning farmers. And we have also focused on historically underserved and beginning farmers. So for example, none of the farmers that we work with are covered under the produce safety rule. So one of our tasks then is to explain to them why it still matters, why it matters for accessing certain markets, why it matters for keeping your customers safe, and why it matters for maybe even improving efficiency on your farming operation. We've also developed plain language guides and signage, especially for communities, immigrant and refugee communities that have low English literacy skills. So getting visual signage that could clearly demonstrate the SOPs for a wash station, for example, was a priority area for us, as well as distilling some of the language of the produce safety rule into something that's a little bit more digestible. And I'll tell you a little bit at the end of the presentation about the plain language guide that we developed in conjunction with another group that we've worked with nationally. Online curriculum modules is something that we started doing just this last year to expand food safety with some of our experiential learning courses in crop production that we teach on the farm. All the while, the partnerships are a big part of what we do. You know, I mentioned a group called Global Growers at the end of this presentation, and they're down in Atlanta, and they're also working with immigrant and refugee populations. And so we've continuously shared information with them and resources to try to really expand the scope of the work that we're doing on our farm for the land-based training. Just a little bit more context. We're focused mostly in eastern Massachusetts in these 3 counties. These are areas that are really perceived to be heavily sort of metropolitan, very urban areas, thickly settled, as the signs say up in Massachusetts. And yet there are actually a considerable number of farms and farm operations in these areas. And you know, one of the things that we really focus on is working with principal producers who are non-white. And you know, I think historically for New Entry, that's been almost exclusively who we've worked with. And that's shifted and broadened really over the last 10 years. But this just gives you some demographic data. This is from the USDA NASS census from 2017 of principal producers in Massachusetts and then principal producers in these 3 counties, as well as some of the sort of demographic characteristics of those producers. So while you know the non-white principal producers in Middlesex is really only down to 5%, according to this data, New Entry's probably records going back now over 15 plus years is really around 40 to 60% of our constituents are non-white and socially disadvantaged, to use the word from USDA's 2501 program. And we focus on new and beginning producers really through early stages, years 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's actually in part because that's how many years they can be on our incubator farm. There are 3 sort of key program areas. I'm just going to talk about 2 of them because it's really where some of our food safety work comes into play. Although we have a third. So we do a farmer training program on site that also has sort of national scope. But we also do a food hub that distributes CSA and also works with various wholesale accounts. And I'll tell you a little bit about sort of why or how we integrate some of the food safety work we're doing with the food hub. And then we also have these national networks, which for us is a way to kind of expand the scope of the work that we're doing on the ground and to actually share more of that information with partners across the country. I'm going to skip over this, I think, but I'll just leave it up here for 1 second to show you that the courses that we're doing through our farm-based training programs are really to create a pipeline for farmers. And the way we think about food safety training is to get them when they're just starting out. And so that we can build skills and build business skills as well as understanding of things like food safety from very early on in a farmer's progression. Starting with some workshops and then a crop production course, business planning class. All the while, we do technical assistance, and that's a big way that we interact with quite a few farmers, is through our farmer training programs and through our food hub. I have this slide up here because it's fun to look at. It's just so satisfying, right? And this is also to highlight the site where we moved last year. And so as of last March, New Entry has been at this site in Moraine Farm. That's really allowed us to expand our capacity to do land-based training and to integrate some of these food safety curricula. We had previously been separated out from our offices, our food hub, and our incubator farm, all in different places. Those are all now co-located. So for us as a staff doing food safety outreach and training, we can do it in real time with farmers in the field. The plots being tilled here are for our incubator farms, and we had 6 incubator farms on the site for our first year last year, and we're expecting to just about double that this year. So what do we do through our farmer training programs? We do courses, we do workshops, and we have this incubator. The courses kind of progress as a farmer might through learning about technical skills, crop production, and also writing a business plan. The periodic workshops, food safety is in a regular sort of routine now where we're doing food safety training, not sort of PSA training, although we'd like to be doing more of that. One of the things that we're hoping to do in the future on the farm is actually some experiential learning in conjunction with an official PSA training that's not just PowerPoint for an entire day, but maybe split up where we can actually go out and do visits in the field with our wash station and look at sort of what it would mean to take a water sample from the well, et cetera. The incubator farm provides ongoing technical assistance for 1 to 3 years for farmers that start on a quarter and go up to a full acre of land. So again, we're talking about almost all the farmers we work with could be exempt, if not qualified exempt. And so our mission then is to explain to them why this still matters for them. And I think one of the reasons it matters is because we require it through our food hub. Our food hub is beginning to work now more with wholesale institutional partners, and as a result, those buyers are requiring from us certain food safety protocols that we have to ensure for all the individual farmers who are selling to our food hub. All of the farmers, or I'd say maybe 80 or 90% of the farmers that sell to our food hub have been through our programming. So really this is a food hub designed to support the farmers who have been through our land-based training programs and courses. We do a CSA, we do food access work with the Council on Aging, the senior centers throughout Massachusetts, and all the while sort of helping train growers what it means to ensure quality produce is coming through the food hub. So I'm going to talk a little bit more detail now about some of those activities that we've done through our farmer training program. For the past few years, we've run a 20-week experiential crop production course. Last year, we had about 18 people in the class. And one of the modules for that course that we teach through Canvas, because we are affiliated with Tufts, we fortunately get to have access to these learning management systems. And then when we're doing food safety in their Canvas course online, we'll take the students into the field that next week and actually go through the wash station and go through various components of the produce safety rule as part of their course training. And you can see this image here is just a screenshot of our food safety module from our Canvas course. We also do technical assistance and food safety training both in the classroom and in the field. This group of producers on the left are individuals that have been working with our food hub for years and presumably would have gone through some of these food safety training years ago, but still occasionally will encounter quality control issues that are coming through the food hub. And so then it's on us to go out and do a kind of refresher training with folks in the field. So in this case, we were bringing produce from the field and showing them various states of acceptability or unacceptability in the quality, and that relates to a lot of the post-harvest handling and the sort of infrastructure that a lot of these farmers that we're working with have access to, including sort of helping improve access to things like wash stations and portable hand wash stations as well. In addition to the sort of more formal and the direct technical assistance, this is an example of one of the workshops that we're doing. Last summer we worked with EMAS Craft, or the Collaborative Regional Alliance for Farmer Training, to teach, this is mostly a group of interns and apprentices from local farms in eastern Massachusetts, about food safety. We learned later that a lot of these individuals were taking that information back to their farms where they work, and some of them were even about to undergo inspections, and were really grateful, in fact, for the portable hand wash demonstration that we show here. We brought a number of these different units out, right? This is just a piece of the units that would include, obviously, your paper towels and trash can and all that kind of thing. Just to sort of show what some of the examples were for creating your own portable hand wash station in a field-based setting where you might not have access to plumbing, for example. I mentioned the food hub. This is actually pictures of our old food hub, and we now have a food hub that's co-located with our field, so farmers get to bring produce straight from the field into the food hub from the incubator. And again, this is an opportunity to teach all of the farmers about not just quality control, but all of the different SOPs that we have going into the food hub extend into the wash station just across the driveway. So we get to sort of track farmers' progress through each of these different stages of production, and to perform interventions as necessary with regards to following certain protocols or disinfecting, cleaning, washing, that kind of thing. I also mentioned that we're expanding into wholesale and institutional outlets, and for a lot of our growers, even though they might be exempt or qualified exempt, this is where the food safety sort of rubber meets their road, because they get to have access to these markets they might previously not have access to. Even though they're growing on a really small scale, they're also working full-time jobs. And so for them, a wholesale account where they could know that their produce that they're growing is sold from the beginning of the season when they purchase their seeds, and they don't have to spend a lot of time going to farmers markets, for example, is a really sort of enticing proposition. But in order to do that, they have to know what standards and quality, or the sort of expectations are of them for the produce safety rule that we've set through the food hub. I also mentioned that we have a lot of partners and collaborators in this work, and here are just a few. We've helped put on Produce Safety Alliance trainings in Colorado and Massachusetts. We've fortunately gotten some funding from the Food Safety Outreach Program and others to do a lot of the food safety education work that we're doing. We've partnered with the Conservation Law Foundation to also introduce farmers to some of the legal liabilities they're exposed to with regards to risk and produce safety. Global Growers is another group that we've worked with down in Atlanta that also has a strong immigrant refugee farming population. And of course, MDAR and the Commonwealth Quality Program are also key parts of what we're doing to help really make sure that not just that we're presenting the right information, but that information is getting to farmers in the most timely and the most efficient ways. So I'll just mention briefly now some of the Food Safety Outreach Program outputs from previous years included this Food Safety Modernization Act, Produce Safety Rule, plain language guide, which is really sort of a distilled version of a lot of the produce safety rule that we've presented in a way that could be more accessible for folks with low English literacy. This requires an update. As we know, things have kind of changed since 2017. And we also produce signage like this, and I think we'll be hearing about some more sort of signage options and ways to visually communicate elements of the produce safety rule. Washing produce, tobacco, foods and drink, etc., and the cleaning supplies. And so these are resources that we've made available throughout our national networks as well. And so if anyone wants to learn more about this, you can also find a lot of this stuff on our resource library at nesfp.org. And that's it. Thanks for your time, everybody.